I've had the opportunity of working with some of the greatest DJs around. Starting from my relationships early on, even with people like Grandmaster Flash and Africa Bambaataa. Of course, Marshall Jefferson, Jesse Saunders as the first real DJ that I worked with. So Todd Terry, so many great DJs throughout the year. I've always had like a fascination with DJs, and thus I'm a DJ myself now. I found out one thing about DJing, and that is that the most important aspect of it is playing great music. A lot of people think it's tricks and the way you mix and the way you cut and the way you scratch, and I think that stuff is great. I love all the DMC, champions and people, of course, like Flash, and even if I think back on Farley Jack Master Funk and the Hot Mix 5 and the way he used to cut things up, that stuff's great, but I think at the heart of it, what people really appreciate is playing great music. It's the songs that you play. That's what people care about the most. So that's what I love to do about DJing when I do my sets. I like to really choose things that get me excited, and hopefully they do get other people excited. And then, it's also a matter of, who is in the crowd. What do they want to hear? If it's possible, sometimes I'll hit up something that somebody actually requests. A lot of times, like all DJs say, you don't necessarily take requests, but sometimes I do, and as long as it fits the mood, I think it's a good thing. Now, when it comes to some of these great people that I've worked with, I'd have to say, Kenny Gem and Jason is somebody that I worked with on My Main Man. Jesse Saunders worked on that. Also, Farbus, who was a guy named Richard Fairbanks. Richard Fairbanks worked at Universal Studios, and he was probably the first engineer. He wasn't actually a DJ, but he was a great engineer and a great producer who started making these house records with me, because before that I was strictly into punk rock. I think that the reason I was able to get into house is because even though I was not a fan of disco, I just saw house as being almost close to punk, in the sense that it was very raw, stripped down. I think in a way that house music had a lot more in common with, let's say, punk than it did with some of the overproduced music that really became disco. Later on, through Frankie Knuckles and some of the people that I got to know, I heard a lot of the better disco, or disco that I thought was good. But what I associated disco with was, polyester suits, disco dresses, line dancing, all the things I didn't like. And as a matter of fact, there were things I didn't like about rock and roll, because at the point that I was into punk, I already thought that rock and roll was getting overproduced. I wasn't necessarily into Journey, Styx, things like that. I was really, by that time, I wanted it stripped down, and that's why Dead Kennedys, Ramones, Blondie, that kind of thing. Public Enemy, or Public Enemy too, but Johnny Rotten, and that kind of thing were the things that I really liked. I loved the band X with the singer Exene. I really liked what she did. I liked Lydia Lunch. I think I always liked really stripped down, basic kind of stuff. No overproduction for me.